Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today we have with me Justine, who is one of the graduates, past students of Bloom, my 3-month root cause program, as well as a diet student. And Justine is here with us today to share her experiences with Bloom and with Undiet and tell us about her amazing results. Very excited to start chatting. Welcome, Justine.
Hello there. Hello. Thank you very much for inviting me to talk about my experiences with you.
So perhaps we can start by you telling us just a little bit more about your story and why you were looking for help with your thyroid in the first place.
So I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism back in 2009. It was found as an incidental result on blood tests that I was having at the time. I was having various blood tests and investigations due to really debilitating period problems that would make me bedbound 2 or 3 days a month. And at the time, had these blood results that came back with hypothyroidism. And at the time, it was dismissed. Oh, well, you've got this, just an incidental finding. This is no problem. It's not serious. Don't need to worry about it. I went to see an endocrinologist eventually, and they were like, yeah, nothing serious. Don't worry about it. Have this tablet, and off you go.
Yeah,
And
the
so
usual.
yes, yeah, indeed. And so I didn't really see it as a problem or something I needed to have help with. Having a period is a very natural thing for a woman to have, and yet mine were this huge illness and like being in bed 2 or 3 days a week, seeing so ill with them. And so I felt my body had failed me. And I'd seen the same thing with my hypothyroidism. Oh, it's another thing my body has failed me at. And so my body just needs to get on with it and sort itself out. And I don't need to do anything, and I don't want to deal with this. And I went up and down with various symptoms of Hashimoto's. Some of them I didn't really realize that they're actually symptoms of Hashimoto's at the time. Fatigue, my weight gain, the fact that I lost I had a lot of hair loss, both my body and my head hair. I'd got a lot of joint pains. My hypothyroid, my Hashimoto's blood results kind of went up and down. My was taking levothyroxine, that slowly increased and increased and increased, and no one really said you can do anything about it. It's like, oh yeah, well, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
So, but increasingly, yes, so I was increasingly getting various symptoms that I was putting down to, well, the fact that I'm now going through the perimenopause, or we're traveling a lot, so I'm getting jet lag, like I said, the stress of my mother being ill. And so I really realized that a lot of these could also be the fact of my Hashimoto's was flaring up.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of the symptoms that you mentioned, unless we really know that it could be related, we wouldn't link it, because it's just like, why would it be like the body pain, kind of aches, muscle fatigue, all of that, like it's not really related to the thyroid, right? So we might not link it. Even fatigue to an extent as well, like not everyone would know that it's such a huge symptom for literally like anyone with hypo.
Yeah, I mean, and I was getting increasingly gut issues as well.
Yeah.
Which again, you know, I didn't link with a thyroid problem at all. Again, it was always due to probably just all these other issues. But increasingly I found various things that I was eating and drinking was actually making me ill. And I know it sounds silly, but things like alcohol, I wasn't able to drink alcohol at all. It just made me very, very ill. And, you know, obviously I wouldn't link that with the thyroid problem, but yeah, I started to have a lot of gut issues as well. So I had this whole lot of issues.
That's a very common story. So definitely not just you. And then the thing is that it's not just the thyroid, right? The root cause of these, because what you mentioned about going through perimenopause will definitely have an impact. But because everything is related, the thyroid, it literally makes everything else and the other hormonal fluctuations worse. The autoimmunity makes everything worse. So we look at things, and the mainstream medicine looks at things in isolation, but actually everything is connected, right? So it's not that you weren't having hormonal imbalances, for example, due to perimenopause, but they were just made worse by the existing autoimmunity, low thyroid hormones. And again, that's something that not many people kind of, like link together. But it's all
Yeah.
good news, because that just means that the way out is also, it's going to be easier because one thing affects another. So, for example, working on your gut will improve your thyroid stats, but also your fatigue levels, your hormones, your everything else, like literally in your body, will improve, because again, everything is connected.
And I think the really eye-opening thing I learned through Bloom was the link with my anxiety symptoms and being able to the nervous system regulation. I mean, that was just such a huge thing that I'd never ever would have linked that with any of my thyroid problems at all. If anyone had ever said that, I'd like, well, no, how can that? But yeah, through Bloom, I mean, that was just such a huge revelation. I mean, that's just been just brilliant.
That's
Doing
so
that.
good to hear.
Yeah.
No, it's so good that you're mentioning this, because like, my story, like for me as well, I've been doing all sorts of diets as well and working on this physiological root cause, right? So the gut, the hormones, all of this, and it always helps. But the nervous system almost governs everything, like it's like this overarching layer that needs to be addressed for things to actually change long term. So tell me, what did you try before? Did you try anything at all before joining Bloom, or were you just kind of following the doctor's orders and then you found me? What was the story there?
So I did go gluten-free for a while,
Yeah.
3-4 months. That didn't make any difference. I now realize just going gluten-free and not doing anything else was probably not going to make any difference. And it didn't particularly. I had taken 1 or 2 supplements, and some of those had definitely helped, yes, with energy levels. But I hadn't really done anything else particularly
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
and I started following various people on social media, some more helpful than others. I think there's a lot of nonsense out there
Yeah.
that people are peddling, and there's various experts out there who would, well, just buy my supplements, at some extraordinary expense, and you'll all be, cured.
Yeah, healed. Yeah, it's really I think there is just so much happening in the nutrition and the wellness space that just resembles normal medicine, mainstream allopathic medicine. Just take this supplement, literally another plaster, this quick fix, or this very strict protocol, and that's the only thing that will fix you. Just eliminating everything and taking 500,000 very expensive supplements, and ideally my own supplements, and then you will be cured. But the thing is that generally speaking doesn't work. And why would a supplement just on its own heal an imbalance that we have worked sometimes decades for to develop, and there is just the whole root cause approach is about identifying like what the hell has gone wrong in the past to cause this and how we can undo that. So it's just sometimes, I also obviously follow a lot of people in my industry, and like there are some amazing specialist therapists. Then everyone has their own way, I suppose, to heal, but you have to be just so careful, because there is just so much nonsense as well, and this dogmatic approach, very purist. And in my world, that just means that we create more dysregulation, more stress, and the body is just less likely to heal if we constantly like fearing everything around us and avoiding so many food groups, taking hundreds of supplements. Like that's not the way to live, I think.
Yeah, I think absolutely. Yeah. And I think there's just so much out there, you know, doing that. Anyway, so in all that, I found you and I started following you on Instagram, and it was just a matter of, you had a kind of very much a common sense approach to it. You weren't saying, oh, just take this supplement and you're going to be cured.
Mm.
You were saying more that it takes a holistic approach and this root cause approach and nervous system regulation, and it just started to really resonate with me, what you were saying. And you were saying, you know, you won't just get cured by following some, you know, the latest fad, or just by going gluten-free you're not going to get. And I just really liked your approach, and I just thought you were just speaking common sense to me, and just, yeah, I can relate to that. And yes, I am the world's biggest cynic about what you might find on Instagram.
I
So,
remember you were saying that you didn't have a lot of expectations. Your expectations were quite low.
well, and in many ways they were. I mean, they were quite low,
But
because I do have this very cynical
yeah.
approach, and obviously you'd got quite a lot of testimonials of people saying, "Oh, this was so good. This really helped me. This almost changed." And I was thinking, "Yeah, right, you know." But I mean, I can honestly say it absolutely has changed my life, being doing these programs with you. But I started with I did your Hashimoto's masterclass.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And that just extraordinary, because you were talking about root cause and things I'd never even thought of. When you talk about causes and stresses, and you're talking about when, you know, looking back at maybe when your Hashimoto's was diagnosed, and perhaps you had some stressful life event, maybe 18 months, 2 years previous.
Yeah.
You don't think, I think, oh my gosh, that's when my dad died, and I was very, very close to my dad. And so I was just, yes, this is just, you know, that said, again, you were just talking stuff, and I thought, oh, I can just really relate to this, and this is just really making sense. And then I started with your thyroid fundamentals. This is back in January. To go back at the end, by the end of 2023, I was really at quite a low ebb. I was very tired. I mean, it's more than tired, real fatigue. So I would be able to get up in the morning. It'd take me a while to get going. By about 3 p.m., I was just on the sofa. I was just absolutely wiped out. My husband, I mean, it was really good. He was doing most of the stuff. He was cooking our meals, clearing up, because I was just too tired to do anything. I'd had a lot of hair loss as well. I just didn't look very good. I'd had some blood results back, which were quite poor. So I was kind of at this real low ebb with it all. And so I started doing your thyroid fundamentals. I'd started to find quite helpful, and this is really interesting. And so I thought, oh, shall I do Bloom? Shall I not? Because you know, again, I didn't know what to expect.
Can I just interject here before you tell us
Yeah,
about Bloom?
yeah.
Just for if you're listening to this and you don't know what fundamentals is, so just a quick explanation. So it's like this introductory 21-day course, but very comprehensive. I ended up like spending like weeks recording, and I thought it was going to be this quick program, like bite-sized lessons, and it really turned into a big resource. But it is a great thing to do before Bloom, because it really takes care of these foundational habits. So then when we do work together in Bloom, we can go deeper, and we don't have to, we already have that foundation almost for healing. And it's like food, nutrition, habits, also like daily routines.
It was a really good introduction before Bloom. And yeah, and so then your Bloom course was coming up again, and I was very unsure, and I was, well, maybe I'll just do thyroid fundamentals, and well, maybe I'll see how I just get on for another 3 months, and then maybe I'll do it. And partly my husband just said, just do it, because, you know, you're at this point. And he was more like, well, what the very worst thing that can happen is that you don't get better. It doesn't improve you at all. And then you haven't lost anything. And at the very least, it will probably improve something, and it'll improve it a bit. So And so I did, yes. And you talked about, expectations. I didn't know really what to expect. So
And I think that's quite common. Number one, I think it's common because, especially if we haven't done a process like this, or if some people would have done courses with someone in the past and maybe, didn't have great experiences, they don't know what to expect. But I feel also there is this sense of, maybe subconscious lack of trust in the ability to heal. So we deep down, we might not fully believe that it's even possible for us. So how can this woman from the Instagram, how can she change? How can she help me? I am obviously very special and my circumstances are different. So I can't, maybe it works for other people, but it can't work for me because this and that. And what I find is it's that we are not as special as we think. Like we think that, oh no, our situation is so much more complex, but actually I have observed over the years that the things that work, they work for 95% of people, and we're not on some level we are special, but when it comes to this, we are dealing, all of us, with very similar imbalances and diets, and the way to undo it is not the same but very similar for a lot of us.
yes, absolutely. Yes.
Would you agree?
Yeah. I would, yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. Yes. So I started doing your Bloom, and I was very skeptical. I can be honest here, very skeptical about the nervous system regulation, which you put a huge emphasis on. I was like, yeah, right, this is not gonna do anything
Make a
for
difference.
me. Which has been absolutely extraordinary, I can say.
Yeah, tell us more on what happened. What did you learn, or how has it showed up for you?
So you were doing we did the nervous system regulation, and you talked about going through exercises every morning. And when I started Bloom, I decided, right, I'm going to be all in with Bloom. Everything you said, it's no good going to Bloom and then well, I'm not doing any of that, because then there is absolutely no point. So I was completely all in with everything you said. So I started doing my exercises, and first couple of days I'm like, well, yeah, and but as I started to do them, I suddenly realized, gosh, I am calmer about situations. I'm not as anxious about a huge amount of things. And you gave us tools to be able to use when we're out as well, which I found really, really helpful in situations that I know would normally make me extremely anxious.
Yeah.
Gave us tools to be able to deal with that. And I could feel myself physically in these situations. I would feel my heart rate going up or feel like getting hot. And I would use your tools that you taught. And I could feel myself, physically getting calmer and being able to deal with these situations. And that was just absolutely brilliant. The stress hasn't changed in my life, but just deal with it so much better.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that was, that's just been a brilliant part of it. That part. And that was the part that I was most skeptical about. And how's a bit of tapping around the body or doing a few bits, how's that going to possibly change? And so
the simplest, the interventions and techniques that we take for granted, we're like, no, it's not gonna work. Like, they are the most profound, really, and they have the biggest impact, but we have to do them. So this is exactly why you have seen so much success. I think it's because you just committed to it and you made this decision, I am going to do this. And I think it's worth saying, maybe here also you could comment on the time needed to put it in place, because one of the questions that I get a lot from people thinking about joining is basically the time issue. So I'm very busy, I've got kids, or I've got busy life in general, I travel a lot, or like there are family issues and I just don't have the time, or I'm very tired and I just don't have the energy. So maybe you can tell us a bit more, like how much time did it take you per week to watch the modules and actually do the exercises? How did that look like for you?
right, it is a time commitment, because it's a comprehensive program. So it's no good thing, oh, it's only going to if you only just put in 5 minutes a week, then things aren't going to change. But having said that, I really like the way you structured the program when I started it, in that you gave us these modules and they were only kind of 8 or 10 minutes each. So I could watch, it wasn't like, right, here you are, here's your hour's lecture on, whatever subject it was, which would have been quite a lot to sit down and listen to and think about. But when they're only like between 5 and 10 minutes each, that was so much easier to listen to, and I could listen to them a few times. So I could listen to it, so I was doing the washing up or something, or just going, just doing something in the house. So I really liked that. And I really liked the way you structured the doing your meals as well. So I mean, my husband and I, we do have the luxury of being able to have a bit more time, but you structured them in a way for people who have busy lives, who do work full time and or have children. The ideas you gave for that of doing a bit, I mean, the meal planning was just brilliant, and cooking ahead. So you might use the lunch from one day as the dinner from the next day. So all those sort of ideas were really for, I felt you'd really thought about people who were busy and haven't got huge amounts of time, but really want to do something about it. So I think there's lots of techniques within Bloom to help people who are really time short.
It's really good to hear. It's a great feedback for for me as well, because of course everyone is in a very different circumstances, right? And I am always thinking about two types of people who are really short on time because they've got super demanding jobs, and people who have high levels of fatigue, because these are the people that I deal with most often, right? And usually those solutions that I always try to implement, they work for both, because actually we're facing very similar issue here.
Yeah. And I like the way the whole program was structured, that, we'd have some modules, and then there'd be an integration week. So we wouldn't have any more. So it'd give people time to think about them and be able to start implementing them. And I also like the way you weren't, right, this is this, right, here's all the, the 10 things you have to do this week, otherwise you've failed the course. You were, completely different from that. You gave what you called low-hanging fruit, much easier things to do. And here's some other stuff you can do. And you gave options so you could build up towards doing things differently. So
you told us a little bit about the first impressions and the things that you liked. So tell us about the improvement. So when did you first start noticing things shifting for you? I
noticed things very quickly, because you talked about going gluten and lactose free. And I went lactose free. And so very quickly, not so much with the gluten free, although I did do that, but with lactose free, I found improvements very quickly. I started some of my gut issues cleared up very quickly. And I'd say my bowel movements improved. I'd say about 3 weeks. I'd say, oh, hang on a minute, I haven't felt so fatigued in the afternoon. I've done something in the evening. This, I haven't done this for ages. I've been able to help with the cooking. Now, I did the clearing up afterwards in the evening and didn't immediately need to go to bed. And so quite quickly. Yeah, in 3 weeks.
And then how did it, because obviously the Bloom was 3 months, and then you continued in on diet, which is a shorter program that focuses more on relationship with food. So maybe just tell us a little bit about the evolution, like how has it evolved over the months, because we've been together for quite some time, right? It's like 4 months, 5 months, I think.
It has. Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know, it's just extraordinary, from looking back to how I was at the end of 2023, the end of last year, or beginning of January, to how I am now. It's just such a massive difference. Yeah, it is quite extraordinary. So I just have so much more energy now. I don't feel that terrible fatigue anymore, and it's just nice to have energy to do ordinary things in life. To be up in the evenings. I think I told you I recently went to a music festival.
Oh yeah,
which was just, I wouldn't have been able to do that, not just because of being able to stay up long enough, but the noise and all the people around, I wouldn't have been able to cope with that. My nervous
yeah.
system would not have, Now
Oh
I
my God.
realize it's regulating that. I'd have just thought, oh, it's just me and that's just how I am. I just don't like crowds or I don't like noise. But I realize now it's because I was under so many other stressors that just being able to do something like that. I mean, I've lost a stone in weight. I mean, that was not something that was the last thing in my mind when I started, oh, I'm going to lose this weight. But I've lost, yeah, I've lost about a stone in weight. So about 6 kilos. And it's all been fat loss. It hasn't just been muscle loss.
Yeah.
I recently had another evaluation with my personal trainer, and he was just so pleased with how it looks, and that I've been able to have this fat loss but gain muscle at the same time and
Yeah,
lose
that's
this weight.
amazing.
So I mean, that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, we've been celebrating inside of
Yeah,
Diet and Bloom and Core.
yeah,
So that is such a great achievement because, like for any woman, like it's not about just weight loss. Because again, we don't think about it in the beginning. It's all about the healing more than losing weight. But then when it comes to losing weight, to lose fat, not just weight, because we don't want to just lose weight, because that weight usually would be from the muscle. And and we really don't want that, especially as women. We need to be quite protective of that. So that is amazing, and definitely a sign that, like your PT said, that you're doing the right things for your body.
yes, yeah. I mean, I think his words were, "Whatever you're doing, your body really likes it." So, yeah, and lovely as well. I think I've said to you the unexpected, expensive bloom that I've had to go. I've had eyebrows again. I haven't had eyebrows grown, so I've had to go and pay to have my eyebrows done. Like,
That's so amazing. That's
so
amazing.
unexpected consequences there. Or I've noticed, my nails just look so much better. They're not breaking off anymore. So physically, I've got all these signs as well that my body's just so much better.
Oh, that's such a great change. And honestly, I keep saying this, but it's such a testament to the work that you have put in. Like it is amazing. And I think it shows that that dedication to the process. And also I think because you got those results so quickly, that is so motivating, right? Because once you start seeing improvements, it's such a motivation to keep going. Amazing. And tell us about the when we think about Bloom, what were the parts that you enjoyed mostly, the elements of it? Because it's obviously quite a structured program. There is the community element, there are the recorded sessions, there are the live workshops. What was the favorite part?
I just liked all of it. I really liked the way it was structured. I really liked to begin with the fact the modules were just short modules. That meant I could concentrate and see those. I really liked the fact it was a community. I thought that was very good. There was a whole lot of women on there with very similar issues and different issues, but very similar issues. And that was just brilliant to see everyone's progress. I mean, that's been lovely to see people with all sorts of issues when we very first started it. Some people's issues were very quickly resolved. Some people you could see almost got worse before they got better, and you were saying, no, keep with it. It's part of the process. It's how your body is reacting to this. And yeah, and just to see people improve after that.
Yeah, everyone's journey is a little bit different. I think the beauty of Bloom is that it's so personalized. So we obviously got hot seat coaching, which is that opportunity to actually have a coaching session and I'll still listen to other women's experiences, but have this very personalized journey within a structured program. Because a lot of those programs out there, you sign up and you just literally just have to, it's like a course, you just follow the modules and that's it. Whereas I think that's the big difference with Bloom, that you get that personalization even without the one-to-one, because you didn't have a one-to-one, right? Like we didn't.
I didn't know. No, I just, but I found the hot seat coaching really good, really interesting. So that was in the smaller group. There were like 4 or 5 of us, and everyone would have their questions. And I just found that really good and kind of really helpful that you recorded everything, so I could hear the other hot seat coaching from the other ladies, because
Yeah.
often they would ask a question. I think, oh yeah, I'd been thinking it, but I hadn't thought to ask. And some of the discussions there I found really helpful as well. So
Yeah.
all that was great.
Mm.
Yeah, and the workshops, again, the meditation workshops
Mm.
were just so good. And in a couple of them, I found myself fast asleep because it's just,
Oh, really?
yes.
Yeah, that's very funny.
Um,
But a lot of people do fall asleep, which
yeah,
is very funny. Yeah,
yeah.
a good side effects, a good nap, and that is a really nice thing to hear as well, because I think there are a lot of people who start this journey and they don't want the woo kind of all the
Yeah.
spiritual elements. But I think the difference again in my approach, although I do incorporate them, I always come at it from a slightly different standpoint. So it's always very scientifically rooted, and I use various techniques, and you can take from it what you need. So if you want to see it from a little bit more spiritual side, then absolutely. But if you just want to use the techniques to support the nervous system, the mindset, the reprogramming of some beliefs, like that will work regardless of your beliefs around it, if that makes sense, because it's I think a lot of them get challenged during the course.
Very true. I just really like but I did like the structure of it, and I liked the way that you weren't completely dogmatic that right on day one, what you need to do is do all this stuff or
Mm-hmm.
else. It was,
Yeah,
when you gave various options about it as well. So I did like that.
I think it's all about the small changes, and I'm a huge believer in basically tweaks, not turning everything upside down. And I think the one thing that we haven't mentioned here is basically that there are no crazy eliminations inside of Bloom. Although we do work on the gut, we work on autoimmunity, essentially we work on opening like detoxification pathways. So all of it could be done with the strictest protocol out there. But because we always work with this nervous system first approach, that would be completely, counterproductive. So the way we do it is gently and gradually. And still there are some eliminations, right? For example, during the gut healing protocol, but they are so gentle and like doable. And the focus is on including things rather than excluding. So I don't know if that was quite refreshing as well, but it's just I think that was my main thinking when I was creating it, that I didn't want anything that would completely turn everything upside down, but more give that gentle guidance.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. It wasn't full of, some of these things you can read about, and it's like, oh, you have to give up this food group or that food group or the nightshade family and this and all this sort of stuff. So
Eggs and broccoli
yeah,
and all of
yeah.
that, so yes. Okay. And what did you find challenging? Tell us quickly before we wrap up. What was like, what was difficult?
I think it was challenging to I found the breakfast quite challenging to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'd come from, I can't have breakfast for 11 to start doing savory breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
So but again, I started gradually. So I started having, say, one savory breakfast and then a porridge breakfast, and do it
Uh-huh.
like that
Yeah.
once one day, and then do like 2 or 3 days of savory breakfast. I mean, it didn't take, and again, it didn't take very long for it to
Mm-hmm.
just become a habit. And actually, I actually quite liked having the savoury breakfast, only maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And again, a change. So when you said about doing a weekly meal planner,
Uh-huh.
first, oh gosh, I can't possibly think of 7 days worth of meals. That's too much. So we'd start off, we'd do maybe a couple of days. And
Uh-huh.
then within a couple of weeks, we could do like 3 or 4 days. And it's, went from there. And now your weekly meal planner is just fantastic because
Are
it
you
saves,
doing you're doing the whole week now?
yeah, we're easily doing the whole week now.
Oh,
And
amazing.
it's actually saves money because I'm not just buying ad hoc veg, because we've got a plan. So but it was challenging to start with, to start thinking, just putting your mindset in
Mhm.
different things.
Yeah.
And I think the nervous system regulation, as I said, as well as being fantastic, was also really hard at times. Some of the
Mm,
workshops we did, I
mm,
found them really challenging because it challenged some of um things that have happened to me in my past and my traumas.
Mhm.
Um, some of the some from my childhood, some of the relationships with my mum especially.
Yeah.
Um, and I found those quite hard. And some of the workshops I almost couldn't finish the first time we did them. I'd have to go back to the replays and think about them.
Mhm.
It did make me shed a few tears. I actually got quite
Mhm.
emotional, and I did cry once or twice with them. So,
Mhm.
which was extremely good and very cathartic, and really make me think about these things and to start healing with them, but
Yeah.
also very challenging. And I think part of this course, it's not just about, oh, give up gluten or take a supplement. It's actually thinking about the root causes, and some of it will challenge you emotionally. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. It's I think a lot of women going through this process, including myself, will find the same. It's not easy, and that emotional root cause that I talk about, that is, in my opinion, even more important to address. Like, it's not easy stuff. Like, if it would be easy, it wouldn't be the root cause. Like, it's just, it's something that is really in our, like, at our core, that sits in our bodies and lives in our bodies, and we need to first have the awareness and then the ability to release it, process it, and there are tools to obviously give you, to support you with that, but it is definitely not in the moment a comfortable process, but the result is so profound. It's just a necessary work that needs to happen.
I was just going to say, it's just been a really good process, and it's one of the first course I've ever followed that at the end of it, I'm not thinking, oh well, I'm just going to go back to how I
Uh-huh.
was, or or I'll just have this bar of chocolate this once because
Mm.
and I'll start again tomorrow, whatever. I think because I've come so far and I see it feels so good.
So not just a course that you do for a bit and then that's it, you change your life. It's enough time to change how you live, essentially.
It is, yeah, and it is absolutely life-changing. As I said, before I started with you, I saw your Instagram thing, and you'd have these testimonials and people would be going how good it is, and it was life-changing for me. And I was thinking, yeah, right. But I can honestly say it absolutely has been, Aggie, and thank you. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
again, well done. And it has been such a pleasure to watch your journey and support you on your journey. Like, it's I always knew that I wanted to chat to you and do an interview like this, because I could see that happening in real time. I could see the change, and we always celebrate wins in Bloom or any of my other courses on Fridays, and I just could see magic happening, in real time, and that was just beautiful, beautiful to watch. And I am really grateful to have this opportunity, to be a part of your journey. Before we wrap up, just last final question: what would you say to someone who's thinking about joining Bloom, but a little bit, kind of on the fence still?
Well, I would say absolutely just go for it. If you're thinking about it and you're in the position I was back in January, I'd say absolutely go for it. My only advice would be just be all in with it, listen to all your advice, and just really enjoy it. It's a really enjoyable process, and just enjoy it. And yeah, just go for it. You've got absolutely nothing to lose. Just go for it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being in my world and committing to this process. And yeah, I am very, very excited to see what the future holds and how everything will carry on evolving.
Brilliant. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Bye.
Bye.